Hi everyone! Today we are going to start our second review for our Chapter 8 test. Number 1. Suppose QRST is a trapezoid with bases QR and ST. So this would be a base and this is a base, meaning that those two bases are parallel. If angle R is 110 and angle T is 82, find angle Q and angle S. Let's start with angle Q. So we see that these two angles are next to each other and that they are supplementary. So that means that 82 plus angle Q is equal to 180. Subtract 82 from each side, we get that angle Q is then equal to 98. So that's going to go here. Angle S. Now angle S and angle R, those would also be supplementary. So 110 plus angle S is equal to 180. Subtract 110 from each side. Angle S then is equal to 70. Number 2, ABCD is a kite. If AB is 6 and BC is 10, what's the perimeter of the kite? Now there's no diagram or picture here, so I'm going to sketch out the situation. So here is kite ABCD. We know that these segments are congruent in a kite, and these segments are congruent in a kite. So AB is 6. If AB is 6, we also know that AD is 6. And then we're also told that BC is 10. And if BC is 10, we also know that DC is 10. Perimeter. Perimeter just means that we're going to add up all the sides of this kite, and if we do so, we end up getting 32. Figure LMNO is a rhombus. If NO is equal to 8, which is right here, OP is equal to 4.9, so OP is this segment right here. And angle LOP is 52, so this angle right here, and I'll draw an arrow, is 52 degrees. Find each length and angle measure. All right, so let's start with our side lengths. LM. LM is right here, and we know that this is a rhombus. So the definition of a rhombus is 4 congruent sides. So if ON is 8, LM is also 8. MN, well, MN is another side of the rhombus, which means it has to be 8. MP, so MP is from P here all the way to M. And if OP was 4.9, that means PM is also 4.9 because we know that the diagonals in a rhombus are perpendicular bisectors of each other. So PM is 4.9. OM is the length of that entire diagonal, and so if we know the two parts are 4.9, we're just going to add those together. So 4.9 plus 4.9 is 9.8. All right, so now we're going to get into the angle measures. Angle 1. So angle 1 is right here, and it's the angle created when the two diagonals collide. Once again, we know that the diagonals in a rhombus are perpendicular bisectors, so angle 1 is 90 degrees. Angle 2 is here, and we know angle 2 is across from this angle here, so those are congruent. Also remember that the diagonals of a rhombus bisect those larger angles. Okay, that's going to help us here in the future. So angle 2, we know, is going to also equal 52 degrees. Angle 3. So angle 3 is up here. And if you look closely, we then have a right triangle. So if we know two angles in my right triangle and we are trying to find the third, we know that the sum of the interior angles in a triangle is 180. So 52 plus 90 plus angle 3 is going to equal 180. So we end up getting that angle 3 is equal to 38. If angle 3 is equal to 38, then angle 4 is also equal to 38. Angle 5, so angle 5 is right here. Well, we knew if this angle is 52, then angle 5 is also 52 because the diagonals in a rhombus bisect those large angles. Next, let's look at angle ONM. So ONM. So I'm trying to figure out angle N. Well, the opposite angle of angle N is angles 3 and 4. Well, angles 3 is 38, angle 4 is 38. So if I add those together, I end up getting 76, and that's the measure of angle ONM. Now let's look at angle NPM. So NPM. Once again, this is where those two diagonals collide, meaning that they're perpendicular. So angle NPM is 90. And the last angle measure is angle LMN. So LMN is this angle right here. And the opposite angle would be these two angles here, which are both 52. So if I add those together, 52 and 52, I get 104. Number 4, draw the symmetric lines of a rectangle WXYZ. So we want to draw those lines of symmetry. So since we have a rectangle, there's only two. There's one horizontally as well as vertically. I said that wrong, sorry, horizontally and vertically. Now, if we know that angle XYZ, so X, move this over, YZ is 90 because we have a rectangle. The definition of a rectangle is that all angles are 90 degrees. And we know that that angle is equal to 3x plus 36. I need to solve for x. So what I'm going to do then is set 90 equal to 3x plus 36. So when I solve for x here, then I'm going to subtract 36 from each side, and I get 54 is equal to 3x, divide by 3, so 18 then is equal to x. Number 5, ABCD is a rhombus. If BC is equal to 22, what's the perimeter of a rhombus? All right, so let's sketch this out. So definition of a rhombus is that all the sides are congruent. And so if I call this A, B, C, and D, if BC is 22, that means that all the rest are also 22. So that means that the perimeter then is just adding up all of those sides, and we get 88. Number 6, use the kite EFGH with ends ENG. If angle 1 is 38 and angle HGF is equal to 50, find the measures of each angle. So I just wrote in that angle 1 is 38 and angle HGF is 50. So let's look at angle 2. Angle 2 is the collision or the angle created with the two diagonals. And we know that the diagonals of a kite are perpendicular, so that means angle 2 has to be 90 degrees. Angle 3, well, angle 3 is up here. And we see that we have a right triangle. So if I know two angles of a triangle to find the third, I'm just going to add them up, set them equal to 180. So that means that 38 plus 90 plus angle 3 is equal to 180. So angle 3 then is equal to 52. All right, so this is 52. Now angle 4. Well, we have our diagonal here once again that goes through angle G, which creates two angles, angle 4 and angle 5. And this diagonal is going to bisect angle G in half. So angle 4 is going to be half of 50, which is 25. If angle 4 is 25, angle 5 is also 25. Next, let's look at angle 6. Angle 6 is right here. And angle 6 is actually going to be the same measure of angle 1 because they're across from each other. And we know that angle H and angle F are the same measure because this is a kite. So if angle 1 is 38, angle 6 is also 38. Next, let's look at angle 7, and I'll put 3 marks here. So for angle 7, we have another triangle here. Also know that this angle here is 90 degrees. So to find out angle 7, once again, I need to add up all the angles in that triangle. So it would be 90 plus angle 4, which we know is 25, plus angle 7 is equal to 180. Sorry, running out of room. So that would mean that angle 7 then is equal to 65. Angle FJG, so FJG is this angle right here, and we know that's 90. Angle EHG is this entire angle here, so I just need to add up angle 1 and angle 7, and angle 1 we know is 38, angle 7 we know is 65, and that becomes 103. And lastly, we have angle HEF, so HEF. Well, we talked about angle 3 is right here. That was equal to 52, which means this angle here is also equal to 52. So to figure out this entire angle, I just need to add those two angles up, and you get 104. Number 7, suppose WXYZ is an isosceles trapezoid. So what does that mean? It means that my sides here are congruent as well as my base angles. Angle X is equal to 4A plus 104. Angle W is equal to 3B plus 40. Angle Z is equal to 8B. And finally, angle Y is equal to 2A plus 10. We want to solve for each measure, the measure of angle W, the measure of angle X, the measure of angle Y, and the measure of angle Z. Before we can do so, we have to solve for the measure of A and B. So let's start with A. So because this is an isosceles trapezoid, we know that angle X and Y are the same measure. So I'm going to set those two equations equal to each other. So 4A plus 104 is equal to 2A plus 10. Combine your like terms, I get that 2A is equal to, well, this should be 110, not 10, so let's change that. So 2A would be equal to 6, and then we end up getting that A is equal to 3. So now let's solve for B. So I'm going to set W and Z, those equations, equal to each other. So 3B plus 40 is equal to 8B. Subtract 3B from each side. 40 is equal to 5B, which means that 8 is equal to B. So now what I want to do is plug A back into my equations for X and Y, and I should get the same number. And I do. I get that X is 116, and I get that Y is 116. So that's good. That means that my value for A is correct. So now I'm going to plug B back into my equation for W and Z. And when you do so, you end up getting 64 for both of them. And we're done. Next, true or false. You will have a few true or false questions on the test, so make sure you have this saved for your test tomorrow. So A, all squares are trapezoids. That is false. By definition, a trapezoid has one pair of parallel sides, and we know a square has two. B, all kites have reflection symmetry. That is true. If you draw out a kite, we know we have one reflection symmetry, which is down from the top to the bottom. C, all squares are kites. That is false. Kites are not parallelograms, and we know that squares are. So that means that square cannot be considered a kite. D, all trapezoids are rectangles. Once again, that is false. Why? Because a trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides, and we know that a rectangle has to have two. So trapezoids are not rectangles. E, a property of a rectangle will be a property of a square. That is true, because we know squares are technically rectangles. And F, all trapezoids have reflection symmetry. That is false. The only time that happens is if we have an isosceles trapezoid.